to people who are living their life the Maverick way, forging their own path and really staying the course away from being status quo. And our next guests are doing that. Maverick City Music is a diverse music group that cannot be put into any box. Trust me when I say it. When a clip of them performing popped up in my social media feed, I became a fan instantly. I started to look up their story, and it cemented why I love them so much. Their sound bridges the gap between traditional gospel and contemporary Christian music. The group went home with a clean sweep at the 2023 Grammy Awards, winning all 4 categories that they were nominated for, tying Beyonce for the Grammy wins that night. Please welcome Maverick City Music members Chandler Moore and Naomi Ray.
This jacket,
y'all. Listen, welcome to the TAM fam.
Thanks for having me.
Are you kidding? I feel like I'm family, not just because y'all swept the Grammys. I mean, you know when family claims you after you win big.
Yeah, everybody won.
Yeah, everybody. But I was claiming you before that night. The show is about Mavericks, and it's inspired by y'all. When you're doing something different, and not everybody is on board, but you somehow stay the course. What is it about your background that made you find the will to say, this is who we are, and we're gonna stay the course?
You know, I think for most of us in Maverick, especially Chandler and I, we've kind of grown up in a context that was different than what we naturally felt we were.
Explain that, what do you mean by that?
So like musically for us, we always kind of leaned more toward CCM, country, different styles of music, but we grew up in more traditional churches with a traditional sound. But we had a gift, and we were able to utilize that gift in that space. And so you kind of had to carve out your own space and just be different. Right. And I think we had, I know I did, I had a lot of support and love and people that were just like, go for it, go for it. You're different, but go for it.
I love that, you're different, but go for it.
Yeah.
Chandler, at the end of the Grammy Awards, my friend Kirk Franklin, who I grew up with, speaking of different, I remember when he walked into church with a Michael Jackson jacket on. That's Kirk. He's like, Kirk was like 10, walking into church dressed like Michael Jackson. He was different, and it paid off. And when he said that y'all are the future, what does that feel like?
Man, I think one, in the context of who Kirk Franklin is and has been, not just to gospel music, but to the world of music as a whole, and just to the faith, Christian faith, for him to say that, it was almost like not just a passing of the baton.
But it was, that's what it felt like, because he's still obviously relevant and he's doing his thing, but to be able to pass the torch is an honor, especially when you know the torch is protected. And to know, I mean, we grew close. I live in Dallas with Kirk, so I'm seeing him all the time. We grew so close. So for him to know who we are beyond the music and to still see something in us beyond, you know, just the stages and the arenas, it was like, okay, you get it. Now, I like how you casually drop stages and arenas. You're not at my mama's church.
We will go, though. We go.
Do not say that, because my mom will be like, you know, they said they would come to my church in Texas.
We go from
You're doing arenas. I mean, when I look at the 2023 awards, Best Gospel Performance, Best Gospel Album, Best Contemporary Christian Music Performance, and Best Contemporary Christian Music Album. I mean, first of all, listen, these Emmys are a humble brag, but so I'm not gonna even front. I keep Emmys there to remind people that I did the work. I'm like, this is a reminder to me as well to stay the course. Where are all the Grammys? Because when you're in a big group,
well, we each have our own.
You get your own. I've always wondered that. So I'm like, if it's a group, do they get their individual ones? So you each have your individual. Naomi, where are your Grammys?
They're in my living room. They're in a case. I'm not, the first one I hid for a while, and then when we got the other 4, I was like, no, I'm gonna put them up. Because it's a reminder of like what God has done, and that like like when you're faithful to what he said, that he will reward you.
Yes. You know? And Chandler, I mean, that's a huge accomplishment to have that, to your point, especially when you're being the Mavericks in a genre so deeply protective, a genre that gets you up out of bed. I mean, when you talk about gospel music, it gets you out of bed. When you don't feel like you can, it keeps you going to work. When you're like, God, I can't walk in this building. When your child is ill, when your mother is ill. This is a genre of music that lifts you up, even if you're not a person of faith.
Yeah.
By the way, because you can walk around and say, I don't subscribe to a certain religion, which is okay, and you hear the right gospel song, you're like, okay, maybe I do. That sure did make me feel better.
Yes.
You have been passed this torch, so people ask, what's next?
I mean,
I'm like, what's next?
you know, the Bible talks about it. There's a scripture that says his word.
Okay, you know somebody gonna go deeper than that. The Bible talks about Tamron Hall.
His word is a lamp unto our feet, which signifies that, like, we don't always know. I mean, I think it's great that you have like a 5-year plan or like, this is what I think may happen next. But I think what a maverick is and kind of how you operate and move as a maverick is you don't always know the next 3 steps. You're kind of like, Lord, help me with the next step, and then we'll figure out what happens after that. So, I mean, next we have like a tour coming up in November. That's gonna be cool. We have an album coming out October 29th. 29th. We just dropped the EP, so that's really cool. But
I want to pause on something because you said sometimes as a maverick, you're kind of easing into it on faith because a lot of time with this conversation, people think, okay, I'm a maverick. I bust in the room and everyone said yes, and I knew they were gonna say yes.
No.
It's not. It's more about figuring out what allows you to stay the course. You know, I just met someone who was 54 and just got their college diploma. You know, that's staying the course when you're uncertain. So don't assume that being a maverick means you're just gonna stomp through the situation. Because that wasn't the case.
it was not the case. I mean,
we were stomping, but but everybody wasn't like, yes.
and nothing was over there.
Naomi was like, no, we were stomping.
We were stomping.
They just didn't hear it quite right yet.
But you know, like stomping like a little kid that's just like excited about, you know, like wearing their mom or their dad's
Innocent,
clothes.
naive.
Just stomping and happy and confident in who you are. Not necessarily like, we're gonna shut this down and break it wasn't arrogant. And there's a speaker, his name is Bill Johnson, he says, you can't change what you don't love. And I think sometimes when we're mavericks, we try to change stuff that we don't actually appreciate and love and value, you know? And I really believe that God is using people to change spaces, but it comes from a place of love. It always comes from that heart.
I love that. I'm telling you, I fell in love with you when you popped up in my feed at like 3 a.m. in the morning, social media when I'm doing my deep dive. And I could not love you both more and everything that Maverick City music represents. Congratulations on everything, Naomi and Chandler.